All right, so welcome everybody. If you can see me and hear me, give me a quick thumbs up, either on the screen directly or use your emoji on Zoom here. And so I want to welcome everybody to our webinar series. Today, we're going to be exploring all these letter programs. That's what I call them. All these letter programs. So the RRSPs, the HBPs, the FHSA. However, I think some of you guys already know that these programs are designed by the Canadian government in the hopes to help people get into home ownership one way or another, whether they're first-time home buyers or they might be acquiring additional residences. So with that said, though, I know people tend to get a little confused, especially for real estate investors in terms of, are these programs actually applicable to me and to what I am doing? And today, the hope and the idea and the goal, most importantly, is to demystify some of these things, and so that we can go over, and I've invited a very special guest today, Jackie Bowen, to really walk us through the criteria, the eligibility, and some of the details that we have probably not thought about or been told. And then from that point forward, we will leverage that as the jumping board and start to discuss how we are able to leverage some of these programs as real estate investors. And my personal favorite is the fact that if you are leveraging lease options as a strategy, I think today's session is going to be highly, highly relevant. Okay, so on that note, for those of you who have never ever come across Trust Your Talent, and this is your very first event with us, I really just want to say thank you, first of all. And as the current principal and co-founder of Trust Your Talent Academy, I want to share quickly with you who Trust Your Talent is. And majority of us are Canada-based. The majority of us are Canada-based, and at the same time, we also have a US training curriculum. And Trust Your Talent is the only education-only real estate investing curriculum and training academy in North America, if not in the world at this point. So what that means is we are building Trust Your Talent Academy to train you on financial education. At the moment, our main curriculum is real estate investing, and that is teaching you how to invest in Canada and the US. And the other thing that comes with education only, it means that you are here to learn how to fish, okay? None of the trainers, mentors, and coaches will train you just enough and then come after you for your money. We do not treat you as other people's money. You're not our OPM. We are here purely wanting to, as we call it, pay it forward, because every single trainer, mentor, and coach on the team, we have already declared financial freedom and or financial independence at this point. We've built our investor database, we've built our portfolios, and frankly, we don't need your money and we don't want your money. But what we do want is to help you build a successful financial future so that you are able to not have to worry about money 2 to 5 years from now, okay? And at this point, we also want to share with you the fact that we actually have the world's largest real estate investing training curriculum. There are a total of 16 courses, and each course is, you get a opportunity to do a deep dive anywhere between 12 to 24 hours on a single subject. Single subjects such as creative financing, such as distressed properties, lease options, and service accommodations, and multifamily investing, just to name a few, okay? And so what that really means is that you are going to be equipped. And a lot of people here, you are already in the community. You are able to get equipped on the different thought process and different exit and acquisition strategies so that you can build the most effective portfolio for you. We are not a real estate buying club. Okay, this is a training academy, and we don't believe in collecting properties for the sake of collecting properties. We believe in leveraging real estate investing to create multiple sources of income and long-term wealth to help you get to the financial situation that you desire, and frankly, that I think we all deserve. And so all coaches, trainers, and mentors walk the walk. What that means is, first of all, we are all active investors and business owners ourselves. And so you're never going to come across a situation where one of the mentors and trainers are not up to date on what's happening in the marketplace. If for nothing else, just look at today's webinar series. We are always bringing up to date and, more importantly, relevant information, education, and experiences to the table. Because information is cheap these days. Let's be honest. Everybody's got a smartphone. Yeah. Anybody knows how to go, hey Alexa, hello Google, or hey Siri. Information is cheap and it's readily available at our fingertips. What we are all thirsty and hungry for is what we call relevant information, and more importantly, education and experiences. Okay, so that's really what we're here for. And the other side of all of this, and this is also why Trust Your Talent is the only training academy that actually caps our enrollment on an annual basis, because our focus is the students' results. Okay, and so moving forward, our programs are not just a weekend, not just over 90 days either. It's 1 to 2 years long. The average student investor that are involved in the Trust Your Talent community have been here for almost 3 years on average. People don't want to leave. So here's the thing, because we have created an environment and a community where it's really mutually supportive. I remember when I first started out in this industry professionally 13 years ago, it was a scary world out there. And most real estate investors, in my opinion, tend to be a bit more transactional, and it felt very dog eat dog. And now Siri's talking to me. So it felt very dog eat dog, and we really just crave that space where we can really come together, learn, support each other, and be completely focused on growing a sustainable portfolio for each and every person. Okay, and so that is the long-term goal. Because we are leveraging real estate as our main asset class, what that means is it is not get rich quick. However, as our trainer and mentor Ryan Carr always says, it is not get rich quick. However, it's get rich for sure. And everybody's going to have a different path. Financial education and building a real estate portfolio, it is never, and it should never be one size fits all. And that's why the journey is very, very tailored. So on that note, okay, I will share a little bit about the next steps with you at the end of today. Share and information that we're going to be walking you through. Without further ado, though, at this point, I would like to invite Ms. Jackie Bowen to come on and share with us exactly what all these letter programs mean. Okay, and then we'll go into a live Q&A discussion, and I myself actually have quite a few questions already too, so we're going to go into that. So Jackie, feel free to share your slides now so that everybody can see it. In the meantime, all good.
I'm just trying.
So hey Tabish, hey Donnie, Brooke, how was the move? Edric, good to have you. Good to see you. Megan. Suzanne. Awesome. Okay, and so for everybody, as you know, I always encourage you to have your camera on. Okay, today's session is scheduled for a total of 90 minutes, and make yourself present. Allow yourself to be present and absorb as much as you possibly can. There's always nuggets to take away. However, you gotta be present. Okay, I know we're in the world of digital info intake, and what that means sometimes is it's 1 year in, another year out. So the best thing you can do for you, unless it's a safety concern, okay, or if you're in the bathroom, then don't worry about turning a camera on yet. However, turn your camera on when you can. Okay.
So it's been a little bit on my end, so my apologies. Bear with me one.
All good, all good. So what I can also do, Jackie, here is that I can actually download the slide deck that you shared with me, if that works, unless you've pretty much got it pulled up at this point.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I go to screen share and it says I can click on it, but it's not wanting to open it on my end. I'm not sure if you can see it on yours. So I'm trying
I'm
to
not
double.
able to yet. Can everybody else see it? No, not quite yet. Okay, all good. I mean, I got it open here now. However, it is in PDF. So I am going to do this, and the world of technology we adopt. Okay, who here is the techie?
Everything's ready to go. So sorry about that.
All good. Can everybody see this now on the screen? Amazing. Okay, so let's see. Remote control, Jackie, I'm gonna give you control over the screen. So hopefully you are able to scroll and guide us as we go along.
Wonderful, wonderful. Well, thank you very much for having me today. I really appreciate it. Tim, I am very excited to be here. As mentioned, we're going to be touching on RRSPs, the home buyers plan, and the first time home savings account, which, as Tim mentioned, also definitely helps to benefit first time home buyers looking to get into the market today within our country. So I'm just going to go to the next screen here and tell you all a little bit about myself. Tim, it doesn't look like it's letting me go to the next slide.
Oh, it's not? Oh, okay.
No.
Here we go.
Excellent. Do you want to just be in control of that on your end,
Yes.
if that works?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, I will be your PA today. Just let me know.
I appreciate that. Thank you so much. So for those of you who don't know me, my name is Jackie. I have about 20 plus years experience working in both the mortgage and real estate side in Canada. I do specialize in residential and commercial financing, as well as have a very large investor. We deal with a lot of investors and specialize in different investment strategies.
That's awesome. You know what, Jackie, if you don't mind, I mean, I really love our story because we met about 11 years ago now at this point. And as I mentioned earlier, my baby strategy is lease options. And for those of you who are learning and executing on lease options, I think today's session is going to be extremely valuable to you. However, what I really want to point out is the fact that I remember 11 years ago when I was meeting mortgage brokers and to build my power team across the country to execute the strategy. Very few people really saw the lease option the way that I would like to execute, which subsequently is how pretty much every single Trust Your Talent student is learning right now 11 years later. Many people, they let their preconception stop them from even exploring and keeping an open mind to really learn more about it, and so that we can forge a very meaningful and long-term relationship. However, I remember meeting Jackie and we went over the processes that I had come up with, and she gave me such positive feedback on how to make it even better. And 11 years later, here we are. And so for those of you who are going to be running and executing lease options, I honestly, though, I cannot say thank you enough, Jackie, and all of you should be talking to her, in my opinion. So.
Thank you so much. Yes, we definitely, rent to own was introduced to me, like you mentioned, over a decade ago. Tim, working with you was absolutely wonderful. You definitely opened my eyes into a niche in an area that I think a lot of brokers back then, even now, may not necessarily know too much about or have much of a desire to want to go into, because it's not necessarily a deal that's going to close as a broker on the broker's end today, but it's more so about the relationship that you build with the potential tenant buyer, the team that you create for them, letting them know when the bank said no to them or life happens to anybody. Everybody's got a story. Situations happen, life happens. And rent to own really is, or lease to own really is a wonderful program and an opportunity for those to get into the market today when they feel that every other option has failed or the door's been closed in their eyes. So we've had a very, very high success rate and turnaround. And I think if it's done, if you're working with the right team and you have the right structure and you have the right contracts in place and you have the right relationship established with the rent to own potential tenant buyer from the initial onset, it can really be a win-win for everybody involved, investor included. So
100%.
yeah.
So, all right. Are you ready to move on
I
to the
am.
next? Okay. Let me see. Okay. There we go.
Perfect. So I'm sure everybody is aware what an RRSP is. For those of you who don't or know very little about it, an RRSP is a registered retirement savings plan that is a tax advantage retirement savings plan established by you and registered by the government. Ideally, you should contribute to the RRSP throughout your life. And once you retire, you can convert it to a registered retirement income fund or a RIF, and then purchase an annuity or make lump sum withdrawal to access your savings. You can also withdraw from your RSPs to put towards the purchase of your first home or education. And as we know, we're going to be touching on the home buyers plan, where the RSP will be very much touched on. The RSP is a very great way to lower your taxes now, while also saving you money for your future retirement plans. You can contribute to the account until you're 71 years old, and then withdraw the money and transfer it into a RIF as early as 55 years. So RSP, when we're referring to it in this sense, we're talking about not locked in. So unregistered, not unregistered, not locked in, which Tim, if you can go to the next slide, we're going to touch on what is a locked in RSP, because it's very important to know the difference between the two. So locked in RSP, this retirement savings plan is much more limited in how it allows you to access your money, which presents a barrier for those hoping to access the funds for their home purchase. So anytime we have a first-time home buyer or somebody who is looking to utilize their RSPs, regardless of whether they're purchasing today or they have a live deal in effect, we always want to find out if their RSPs are locked in or if they are not. You cannot make a regular contribution to it. It may only be contributed to by a regular source like your employer's pension plan. Money held in this account is inaccessible until you retire and begin collecting income. Even then, there may be some withdrawal limits. So in a few circumstances, you can withdraw money from a locked-in RSPs, but even then you might see or incur restrictions. A locked-in retirement account, or a LIRA, is a special type of registered retirement savings plan into which a person can transfer the amounts that are in a supplemental pension plan or life income fund. Unlike a regular RSP, the amounts in a LIRA are locked in and can only be used for retirement income. So again, very important to know the difference between a regular RSP and a locked-in RSP.
Yeah. Hey, Jackie, I'm going to jump in quickly, just share a quick personal story here, if that's okay.
Yes, please do.
Okay, awesome. And I mean, can I just get a quick understanding by a show of hands? Who here already has RSP set up? Whether through a bank, through a financial institution, or self-directed. Okay, so keep your hands up if you got it into a self-directed account already. So, okay, so we have 1, 2, 3. Okay, not a whole lot yet. And again, that's totally okay. I mean, Brooke is here listening in because she just had a big day yesterday. She just moved into her new house. And so when you actually go to Brooke's course, which is creative financing, you're going to learn more about how to leverage RSPs as an investor. At the same time, though, my personal story is that I'm going to just really, really fast forward through that whole thing. Many of you know that I used to have a regular corporate job. And when I left the company, okay, when I was made redundant, if I have Aussie friends in the audience today, when I was laid off, basically, our entire department got eliminated, and my contribution into the company backed or matched RSP programs got automatically turned into a LIRA. And so that in itself, like I said, LIRA, or like what Jackie mentioned, LI means locked in, basically. And so I was thinking, as an investor, how do I actually leverage that money? So potentially, and again, not all LIRAs, just like not all investments are created equally. Not all LIRAs are created equally. For me, my personal experience is that I was able to work with Olympia Trust based out of Calgary and convert that LIRA into a self-directed LIRA. So it didn't turn back into an RSPs of any sort. So I just want to share that so that we're not limited to thinking if it's self-directed, it's only RSPs or our ESPs. So in this case, we were able to convert that, well, I was able to, working with Olympia Trust, and put that and use that into a real estate investment deal later on too. And it was amazing simply because my lira was actually growing in the opposite direction that it should be. So it was just amazing. Okay, so that's what I wanted to quickly share, just so that everybody understands that there are potentially more things that we can do. However, if you are locking it in and then after all is said and done, you find out the answer is there's really not much you can do, at least you've given it a fair attempt. And we always teach, if you don't ask, the answer is always no. And if you do ask, the worst answer is no. At least you're never going to wonder what if, okay? Especially when it comes to money and building your income streams and long-term wealth, you wanna make sure that you've exhausted all your resources to make your money work harder for you. Okay, back to you, Jackie.
Excellent. So we'll go to the next slide, please. Perfect. So we're going to touch on the home buyers plan. What is the HBP? So the home buyers plan is a program that allows you to withdraw funds from your RRSPs to buy or build a qualifying home for yourself or a related person with a disability. You can go to the next slide, Tim.
Okay.
Thank you. So there's many different conditions, as you can find also on the government website, but we're going to try to touch on them here in the presentation in order to qualify for this program. So you must be considered a first-time home buyer. You are considered a first-time home buyer if in the 4-year period you did not occupy a home that you or your current spouse or common law partner owned. Even if you or your common law partner spouse has previously owned a home, you may still be considered a first-time home buyer. So very important. If you have a spouse or common law partner, it is possible that one of you can still qualify for your first-time home buyer. You must have a written agreement to buy or build a qualifying home, either for yourself or for a related person with a disability. If you are withdrawing funds from your RSP to help a related person with a disability to buy or build a qualifying home, it is the related person with a disability who must have entered into such an agreement. And to participate in the HBP, you must also meet all of the eligibility conditions that apply to you. So there are criteria that we have to qualify within. And again, the Canadian government website is a very great resource and tool that you can help reference and go to at any time that will help outline these conditions again for you or provide you additional information if needed, as well as contact numbers that you can reach out to. If I can have you go to the next slide, please.
Sorry, I just want to ask, because I remember the first time I came across the true definition of first-time home buyer with these programs, it blew my mind because I was simply taking it on face value.
Mm-hmm.
So who here kind of had an aha moment there based on the definition of what a first-time home buyer is? There we go. So as investors now you can start to think about how this can actually help you. And I understand that many of us have already had other JOBs, which means there are registered funds that have already been put aside. You've decided after financial education to stop contributing to it. However, this could potentially start to change a little bit of your strategy as well. Okay, so these are the notes that I really want to encourage all of you guys to make, because this is what's relevant and how it applies to us. And especially for those of you who have young children who might become adult children who you might want to help set up, get an early start on home ownership and maybe house hacking. We're going to go into that in a little bit.
Perfect. So can we get you to go to the next screen, please? Excellent.
Yes, there we go.
So was that the next one? Okay, great. So you cannot withdraw more than $35,000 per person or $70,000 when combined with a spouse or common law partner. So this is something that many people are aware of, some people don't know. So you can actually have a combined amount of $70,000, or if it's just one person or one person qualifying, they can withdraw up to $35,000. Only the person who is entitled to receive payments from the RSP can withdraw the funds from the RSP. You can withdraw funds from more than one RSP account as long as you're the owner of each RSP. and your RSP issuer will not withhold tax or on withdrawn amounts up to $35,000 or less. So very, very important to know. Your RSP contributions must stay in the RSP for at least 90 days before you can withdraw them under this program. If this is not the case, your contributions may not be deductible for any year. So another important note to point out. And then in order, of course, to fill out or be eligible to withdraw, you do have to fill out the form T1036. And this is something that we will discuss with anybody who is looking to access or utilize their RSPs for the home buyers program when they're looking to purchase a property.
Okay, so again, jumping in here quickly is that if you look at your RSP contributions must stay in the RSPs for at least 90 days before you can withdraw them under the home buyers program. Now, quick question for my Canadian friends in the room. When is typically the deadline to contribute to your RSPs on an annual basis? End of February usually, or March 1st, March 2nd, depending on the calendar that year, okay? And so what that means is you want to backtrack that by 90 days, which means maybe, just maybe, Christmas is a little lean for the next year or so. And after that, you got your 90 days as soon as a new contribution year rolls around. And really, technically, your new contribution year starts January 1st. However, most of us take the first 60 days of the calendar year to really max it out. And so again, this is really a strategy that you want to work on with your mentor and your mortgage broker together, okay? However, just putting our investor's hat on, like I promised earlier, is that if you are starting to think about how to leverage this and some of the funds that you already have put aside, basically starting March 1st, you have the possibility of exercising those funds now into a purchase. And guess what? Canadians, we love our spring markets.
Mm-hmm.
So it's the perfect time for you to be house hunting at that point. Okay, so as you can see, I'm a big fan of making the information really relevant to what we do and how we do things. So I'm hoping that these little ad-libs are helping. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Okay, awesome. Next.
Wonderful. So the 4-year period, this begins on January 1st of the 4th year before the year you withdraw funds from your RSP. It ends 31 days before the date you withdraw the funds. So, for example, if you withdraw the funds on July 31st of 2022, the 4-year period begins on January 1st, 2018, and ends on June 30th, 2022.
Okay, so really the emphasis there is that it's no matter when you withdraw it within that previous year, they always count tax years.
Yes.
Okay, and government tax year or CRA tax year is January 1st every year to December 31st. So really, in this example, it's July 31st, 2022. That day can be December 30th, and it would still be January 1st the following year as a reset.
And then if you make RSP withdrawals under this program and a condition is not met, your RSP withdrawals may be considered ineligible. If your RSP withdrawals are considered ineligible, you will have to include part or all of the withdrawal as your income on your income tax and benefit return for the year you receive the funds. So very, very important. If you do not meet the conditions to participate in this program in the current year, you may not be able to participate in the program in future years. So again, veering back to what you said, Tim, it's important to work and educate yourself with the right team and people ask the right questions so you can best position yourself or your family member to utilize this program and maximize it to the best of their benefit.
Awesome. And I just got a quick message that maybe we did skip a little slide. So let me go back here quickly. Right? I think I may have skipped this one. Scroll too fast.
Okay, yes. Sorry, I appreciate you bringing this back to our attention. Yeah. Wonderful. So yes, you must be a resident of Canada when you withdraw the funds from your RSP under this program and up to the time of qualifying a home is bought or built. You must intend to occupy the qualifying home as your principal place of residence within 1 year after buying or building it. If you buy or build a qualifying home for a related person with a disability or help a related person with a disability to buy or build a qualifying home, you must intend for that related person with that disability occupy the qualifying home as their principal place of residence. So you have to buy or build the home for yourself or for a related person with a disability, or help a related person with a disability to buy or build a home before October 1st of the year after the year of the withdrawal. So I know there's a lot of dates that we're kind of touching on here, the January 1st, the giving the examples, but all of these, again, it's a lot of information that's going to be shared. I'll have my contact information at the end of the slide, so we can always talk and, refresh, reconnect details so that everybody has a clear picture and we don't kind of get lost in the information that's being shared. But I do appreciate you, Tim, jumping in and sharing your thoughts and points as well, because it definitely does help play into some of the examples that we're going to be sharing also.
Absolutely. And actually the credit goes back to John Grant. He was the one that texted me to remind me that we may have skipped a slide there.
Excellent. Well, thank you very much, John. We appreciate that. And then final point there, is that the HBP allows you to pay back the withdrawal funds within a 15-year period. So another important note to point out. But yeah, those are the primary criterias overall. I know it's about 4 slides, I believe it was total, Tim, where it touches on the different points. Again, the Canadian government website, you can explore and get more information on this program there. Feel free again to also reach out to us, but we try to give as clear points as possible with sharing enough information for you to leave and get a general consensus as to what the requirements are to qualify for the program.
Awesome. And I just see that John raised his hand. So question?
Yeah, if I could just ask a quick question, because we took advantage of the HBP, like, I don't know, 12, 13 years ago, I guess, for our first property. And we tried to pay it, like a big chunk of it back at one time, and we got penalized. So is that something that you're aware of, Jackie, that it actually, like, the government actually forces you to kind of amortize that repayment plan? Or did my accountant just screw up?
So I always advise when it comes to talking about RSPs, like withdrawing them, the repayment, as much as we have information on that, I never want to speak on behalf of an accountant or somebody else who oversees the RSPs, what financial institution you withdrew your funds from. My recommendation would be to go back and talk to them. And if you feel that you are now in a situation where you got penalized because you wanted to pay that back sooner, or what that repayment looked like, maybe to reach out to another source and contact them, or even reach out to the government of Canada. There, if you go to the website, there is a contact number there, and inquire with them. Because I always say, I'm not a lawyer, but I'm very familiar with how transactions are closed when it comes to real estate. I know JV partnerships and corporate structures, but I'm definitely not an accountant or a lawyer when it comes to making sure I'm giving the best advice. So I would definitely recommend in your situation, because I don't know how that RSP looked like, or what that schedule of repayment was at the time that you took it out, or how long ago it was, I would definitely go to the source and talk to the right people. So I would probably start off and talk to, maybe reach out to the Canada government, find out from them what their advice is in terms of that, because they're going to be the ones to best give you, or best respond to that in a way that you can get the true and tried answer. I would hate to give you an answer only to have it fail for you in return, and walk away being like, ooh, I said this, but it's actually not that, based on how long ago it was. So yes, that would be my recommendation, is to talk directly to them to get a better answer for you in response to your repayment.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah. I mean, I do have a follow-up question for you though, John, is do you remember what I'm guessing the penalty came with an official letter from the CRA somehow. And do you recall if they gave a reason why? Because that might be a really good starting point.
It's a good question. I don't know the answer off the top of my head. I have to dig
for that.
Yeah, I just remember we were really shocked that we got a penalty for paying back our RSPs early. So.
Right. Yeah. Okay.
That's a good question though, Tim. I'm glad you brought that up. I actually have a client who just this week was talking about a letter So maybe it's a conversation that we can have outside of the presentation, because I'd like to kind of pick your brain a little bit more in regards to that.
Yep.
Perfect.
Awesome. Okay, so now we're back on track, right? We're on 10.
So yes, now if we want to go to slide 11, that'd be wonderful.
There we go.
So can I use my RSPs to buy a second home a second time? The answer is yes. As long as your home purchase falls outside of your four-year window, as noted on the previous slide, you can use your money from your RSP to buy a second house without the tax implications of withdrawing from your repayable HBP balance on January 1st of the year of the withdrawal. As long as it's zero and you meet all other eligibility criteria for the program, you should be able to utilize this program again. It begins on January 1st, again, of the 4th year prior to the withdrawal from your RSP, as we touched on. So for example, if in 2017 you sold the home that you lived in before, you may be able to participate in 2022, or if you sold the home in 2018, you may be able to participate in the program again in 2023.
Okay, does everybody follow that math now for the second time? Okay, if not, I'm just going to kind of put it plainly. 2017 is a tax year, so that's already gone. So if you count the 4 years, it's 2018, 2019, 2020, 2021, and as a result, now you can participate again in 2022. So even though it says 4 years, I think for a lot of us, if it's easier for you to kind of make a mental note, just count 6 calendar years, so that you basically bookend those dates for yourselves.
Yeah, they say 4 years, but it's technically more than that.
Yeah. Oh, Megan's got a question. Go ahead.
Yes, I have a quick question. As I record, the first primary house that my husband and I own, we used the RSP, and we try to put it back every time when the accountant told us to put back the money, and I believe the amount is cleared. But how? Because let's say if we take it out to do another property, so does that mean another 4 year we can get another one, right? But we have to put the money back in RSP within the 4 years in order to do another transaction to take it out again to do another property.
That's
correct. Is that how it works?
You would have to repay the RSP, and then you would then have the allowance to do it as long as you're within that 4 year window. Outside of that.
Oh, okay. Then is there any place that we can, or a source that we can go find out? Because I know that every time we need to pay it back, right? But how do we know the amount? If it's, because I think it also depends on how much you take it out too, right? And I think there's a payment schedule that we need to put it back. Do you know if there's any source that we can find out?
So I think if I'm not mistaken, this kind of references back to the question that we were asked previously, where it's the repayment and being penalized, et cetera. My recommendation definitely would be to find out, talk to the institution where you withdrew your RSP from, but first and foremost, reach out to the government of Canada, contact the right department there and talk to them about your repayment option. They're going to be the ones to best advise you as to what that's going to look like. Again, because I have experience in it, I never want to touch and overstep and speak on somebody else's behalf. But my recommendation would be always to go to the source. Canada government has the information, they have the right contact information. Maybe what I can do too, Tim, is if you have everybody's contact details, I can share the link or the details to the right department at the Canada, at the government's office for people to contact if they need to get additional details on that for.
Yeah, we can distribute this after the session for sure in an email format. And yeah, so thank you for offering that. And if you want any moment you have, feel free to throw it in the chat box as well. Now, Megan, my thought process, if I were you, is first of all, I would dig out the NOA to see if there's any stipulations and guidelines there for the year that you actually used it.
Is it NOA as notice assessment?
Your notice of assessment from the CRA.
Okay, I see.
And of course, if it's not in printed format, then the second person that I would talk to, the second contact that I would make would be to the CRA. And then simultaneously, I would likely call the accountant that filed for taxes that year for me.
Okay, thank you. And sorry, I have another question. Can I ask or should I hold on?
Yes, please.
Go for it.
I think Tim also mentioned about that if we have adult kids, then we can try to set it up the RSP and use them as the first home buyer. Did you mind to explain how does that work? Because my daughter turned 18 last year and she's turning 20. And I'm just thinking, because I've been heard, I think this is not only first time I heard it from Tim, because last time he also mentioned about it too. I just want to know how can I put these all together, use as one of the source and to leverage it.
Okay, I think, you know what? I'm gonna park that question and finish all the information that Jackie has to share first, and then we'll loop back to that. Because I think we'll get to that for sure. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Excellent. So we're going to touch on the first-time homebuyers savings account now. They're referred to the FHSA. Tim, if I can get you to go to the next screen here. Wonderful. So the FHSA and the homebuyers plan can now be combined on the same qualifying purchase. Very, very exciting. The applicants must be a resident of Canada and between the ages of 18 and 71 for this program. You must be a first-time home buyer, as defined as someone who has not owned a home in which they lived at any time during the calendar year before the account is open or at any time in the preceding 4 years. Unlike the RSP, contributions made in the first 60 days of the calendar year cannot be applied to the previous year. And a home buyer has up to 15 years from their first contribution until their 71st birthday, whichever comes first, to use the funds to purchase a home. The homebuyer can also carry forward unused portions of their annual contribution up to a maximum of $8,000 to subsequent years, as long as they do not exceed the lifetime limit of $40,000. So $40,000 is the max amount limit that you can actually contribute to. You can only contribute up to $8,000 a year. So something very important to know. Funds are not withdrawn from the plan to purchase a home, can be transferred to an RSP or a RIF on a tax-free basis. And non-qualified withdrawals from the plan are permitted, but they will be subject to withholding tax just as they apply to taxable RSP withdrawals.
Okay, so Jackie, there are a couple of questions in the chat box here, so I'm just gonna moderate quickly here. Rondi asks, what if you rent your home in that 4-year period? Does the 4-year count for that too?
So under the home buyers plan, what they're asking is that you have not owned or occupied your principal residence at any time within that period. So if you had a property that you bought several years back, converted it to a rental, you're living with your common law partner or spouse, you're not owning a property, you know what? It's owned. No, I'm not sure that program would work. I will have to get back to you, Rondi. I need to get clarification on this because this is actually triggering a client file that I had about 2 months ago. And I would like to go back and reference how we position that. If that's okay, Tim, I'll also get back to you so you can share with everyone the outcome of that.
Absolutely.
Because now that I'm thinking about it, it's definitely shedding a light on a client file that I just recently worked on.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. And Megan, yes, with Jackie's permission, we will be able to share the slides, or better yet, you can contact her directly.
Yes, I would be more than happy to share them with everybody. That's not a problem. Again, my apologies. I don't know why I wasn't able to screen share the presentation on my end, but Tim, I do appreciate you having it on yours to be able to present for the call today.
Backups, we got support. It's all good.
Perfect. So what are the benefits of the first home savings account? There's no tax consequence. You don't have to pay it back. Money grows at a tax-free rate. It's not based on income. It doesn't eat away at your RSPs, and it can be used in contribution with your RSPs. And like a tax-free, contributions to an FSA are tax deductible, and like a tax-free savings account, income and gains inside the FHSA, as well as withdrawals, would be tax-free.
Actually, quick question, Jackie. I haven't looked into it. Probably could have Googled it. However, for the FHSA, it's
Yep.
hard for me to say it. Do you know if there's already a self-directed option available?
Self-directed, this program was only just initiated in April of this year. We are still learning. Like I haven't seen anybody be able to utilize this program to its benefit as of yet. We don't foresee it actually starting to be utilized until probably fall, winter of 2023, if that. But again, because you can only contribute $8,000, a maximum up to a $40,000 limit, it's there to help benefit you, but it's only potentially going to do so much. And Tim, in the presentation that I was trying to sync, as per that graph that we had, I think that would have been a really great chart to present. Because maybe you have it on your end, or maybe I can share it with you that you can just pop it up on the screen. I can email it over to you really quickly.
Sure.
It will help better explain some of those details in there and compare the RSP to the FHSA and so forth. So I'll do that right now. And share additional details with you, going back to what we've touched on, that you can then share out with the group as well.
Awesome. Awesome. Okay, so I mean, this is really new. I mean, it's not even 2 months old, or maybe just about 2 months old at this point. And I do agree, you know, with what you're saying, Jackie, is that this is really just meant to be helping people to get just another layer of down payment in my opinion. And that's also why they allow you to use it in conjunction with your RSPs too. And I think this, just like TFSA, is available to everybody. So investors, put your investors hat on and see how we can make the best out of this. Okay, let me just make sure that I got the slide. In the meantime, any more questions? Actually, we do have questions coming in.
Okay.
So Atoph, when you say Canadian residents, does it include permanent residents and people with work permits, or just Canadian citizens?
It's as defined on the government website, what we require on there. Tim, can you hear me?
Yep. Oh, now you're muted. We could hear you earlier.
Sorry, the benefits of technology. I don't know if my internet here is a bit spotty, so my apologies on that.
You're back on. Okay, so Atoph, does that answer your question?
Yes.
I can definitely understand and empathize where the question came from, because I'm an immigrant myself. And so remember, as an immigrant, again, go back to the legal official definition. However, if you do have a Maple card, you are a Canadian resident.
Okay.
Sorry, Tim, can you hear me okay?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Some technical issues on my end, so I'm just trying to figure out what's going on here.
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay, perfect.
Okay, we're gonna do a quick interim Q&A, because I know there was a lot of information thrown at you, and I've also jumped in from time to time.
No, I appreciate it. I really appreciate it.
Any other questions at the moment? Any aha moments you would like to share? Okay,
Tim,
then I have a question. Yes?
Sorry, I apologize. I just wanted to ask you really quickly on the slides, how many did we have left? Because I wanted to kind of touch on the one thing that we haven't yet gotten to. And so I'm happy to.
The only thing left would be contact you. Okay.
Perfect. So I'm going to kind of touch on something that we haven't talked about, being investor group and having family, friends who are maybe interested in utilizing their RSPs or the home buyers plan or the first time home savings account. So the wonderful thing about this program is that first-time homebuyers can utilize it for the purchase of duplexes and triplexes as long as they are going to reside in one of the units. So as an investor, if you have a family member who is looking at getting into the market, but they want to get into a property that is a, when I say duplex, triplex, they have to own the entire property. So the one title with the 2 or 3 doors, they have to reside in the one unit, and they will have to confirm that they're going to reside in there while being able to utilize the other unit or 2 as a investment or rental income being generated. So it's one thing that we haven't touched on in the slides that I wanted to get to, is that this program, the Home Buyers Plan, is wonderful, can be utilized for that. You can utilize the first-time homebuyers incentive program as well. You can utilize your RSPs for this. You can utilize a first-time home savings account, as long as you're buying the property for the intention of having a portion of it for owner-occupied purpose. You can utilize it for a duplex or triplex purchase.
So Megan, in a way, this is kind of how I would answer your question, just knowing this now, simply because of the fact that I know there are investors, they will actually help their young adult children to get into a property where they can potentially house hack. Okay, so if you can, let's say the kid is going to university somewhere in a different place and you decided to buy a duplex or a triplex there, and you know for a fact that quite a few parents who are investors, they will buy the triplex, help with contributing to their down payment. And this may or may not include, first-time home buyer savings account and RSPs at this point. However, they will help them get into that, and they can do house hacking with the units that they're in, and the other 2 units, you can still exercise any exit strategies that you want to put in there. And to make it very simple, short-term, mid-term, long-term rentals in the other 2 units as well. Now, obviously, we're talking about somebody that's going to university for the first time who are 18. However, there are also investors that I know out in the Ontario market where they decided that, you know what, our 28-year-old son needs to get out of the house, and we're going to help him do something like this. Okay, and this 28-year-old son already has been working for about 5 years at this point. There's some RSP money there, and he saved up some money. And so they were able to leverage some of these programs plus parental support, that's the bank of love, as we call it, to get things going that way too.
Yeah, no, it's truly wonderful to have, for sure. I mean, at the end of the day, we want to make sure that the qualification for the home buyers, the criteria is met. Same with utilizing, whether it's the first-time home buyer incentive, whether it's utilizing the home first-time home savings account. We want to make sure that you're talking to the right people in advance, making sure we're ticking off all the boxes to qualify you for the program, and then being able to exercise that and continue forward. So yeah, just something we wanted to put out there, especially being the group that we are. And with the investor mindset, if you do have somebody and they are looking at getting into their first home, something you can share with them or your children or your family, friends, etc., as well, to continue to build on their real estate portfolios.
Any other questions?
I almost feel like we should have had somebody, an accountant or somebody from, the government who oversees this home buyers plan to touch on any additional questions. Maybe next time I can reach out to one of my contacts, Tim, and see if we can make that happen too, so they can address something.
That would be awesome.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yes, that would be awesome. Yes, Megan.
Yeah, I was about to ask the same thing, but Jackie just mentioned maybe I can reach out to her later for the first-time home buyer account, because I'm just curious that how do they determine the money it's from actually my kids, right? Because let's say if we do have let's say if I do have extra cash from the investment we get, can we just put it under my kids' name and have them to open the first-time home buyer account so we can use the money to invest at True Plus and then have her to live in one of the units. I'm just curious how they determine that the money there is actually from the kids, or do they really care about that? Like just like the way just like the way when we purchase a house, the money has to be in the account for a certain time period, right? So I'm just asking.
Yeah, no, it's a great question. And because this program is still very, very new, people are just starting to open up accounts with their financial institutions, and that's a really great question to ask your FI, for instance. If you're looking at opening that up, definitely ask them about that. But from our position, from what we know, as long as it's going, it's got to come from them into their account. It can't come from you. So if they're looking to buy a property for their own personal use under this program, they can't use your savings account to maximize it. It would have to be an account that is set up in their name for them to utilize that and benefit from it. But again, with you being able to have a, maximum overall limit up to 40,000 and only be able to contribute up to 8,000, depending on the market that you're in, that $8,000 may not go very far. I know being in the greater Vancouver area myself, $8,000, I'd probably wait 2 or 3 years before looking to withdraw those funds. So again, we're not going to start seeing probably anybody really maximizing or utilizing the funds that they have in that account until probably at later end of this year and then going into next year, because it's only just been implemented.
Yeah. Really, really great segue, Jackie. So again, for those of you who are going to be executing lease options, you're putting your tenant buyers into 2 to 4 year programs. Now, this will be a really, really good time to factor that in when you're doing structuring the program for them. Okay, now going back to Megan, your question, I mean, for me, my thought process in this particular case really is with a question like that. For example, I mean, let's say the Bank of Love, right? And you and I, we are very similar culturally speaking. And so let's just say that if you remember, when we give our kids during Chinese New Year's, we give them red envelope with money in there. It's now up to them to spend it as cash, or they will put it into their bank account and they'll charge something on a credit card and then pay for it, or they can put that into their TFSA, they can put that into a regular savings account, or they can put that into, in this particular case, first-time home buyer savings account. So in my opinion, my thought process is it's up to the person to delegate where that fund goes. And at the end of the day, my experience is that the way the government sees it, as long as all the criteria are met, they don't typically care where the money came from and how the money came from. Right. And again, this is completely different from the seasoning rules, by the way. Okay, I'm just saying that this is my thought process, is that, for example, if I give you $1,000 right now, it's up to you to decide where you're going to park that money, or you're just going to keep it in your pocket as cash.
Megan, you can also gift funds to a child if they're looking to buy a property. So even if they are looking to qualify under the home buyers plan, they're looking to utilize their RSPs to maximize that program, but you're able to still top up and gift them. Gifted funds means it comes from any immediate family member, blood relative, or per se. So mom, dad, sister, brother, grandma, grandpa kind of scenario. So you may say, instead of giving them the money for them to put into that FHSA account.
It's hard to say.
You might just keep it in your account and gift it to them when needed. And the only thing that we would require, ideally, depending on the amount that you're gifting, is just a letter, a gift letter completed by yourself to your child noting how much is being gifted to them, and then a verification of that deposit going into their bank account via bank statement from their end. So there's lots of ways that we can additionally maximize. And, this program is great for many different reasons. As Tim said, those who have lease options, tenant buyers, we've had many tenant buyers come to us where they want to pull out their RSPs for the initial down payment. I always advise them to talk to their financial institution or whoever is holding their RSP, because they're not buying the property that year. Depending on the length of their RTO, it may not be of benefit to them to withdraw those RSPs until the year they are getting at the end of their term and going to be qualifying for financing. So we always want to make sure that they're best prepared, that we're best prepared. We have all the details and information, but in their situation, yes, I think, for those who have tenant buyers in lease option situations, definitely suggest, and it's even something that we're starting to think about how we can implement that in our pre-qualification process as to how they can open up this savings account to help benefit them and top up their down payment if need be by the time that they're at the end of their term. So there's many, we're not just limited to one type of down payment, but it's going to be to how do we qualify for the program? Where is the source of down payment coming from? It's from an alternative source. Do we have a history, you know, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So it's really just kind of knowing our basis, but can we maximize alternative, you know, means of down payment? We absolutely can to top up. And with the RSPs and the first home savings account, if say you have, you know, two people who qualify for the home buyers plan, so you have $70,000 they can withdraw, and then say at that time they have $16,000 in their savings account, you now have, you know, 90, 70, 86,000.
102. Okay, 86.
To put towards a down payment. So you can add both of them together. There's no limitation to what you can utilize. But again, you are capped at that maximum $40,000 limit with that program.
Yeah, and I also want to point out that Carlo, I mean, if you want to, you know, unmute yourself, you can share that, or I can just read it out for you in the chat box in case some people missed it. Okay, I will go into it. Carlo basically just said, if I can share, you can do that as what myself and Jackie have mentioned. Also, no holding time or funds to settle under FHSA to be used for a withdrawal, unlike the home buyers program where there's a 90-day time limit. So really, all in all, what we mean really is that there's a bit more flexibility in that. However, again, being that the program is only 2 months old, you also got to remember, you know, we're kind of starting afresh, especially with tenant buyers in this particular case. And I will also take a moment to quickly, you know, call it a warning or call it a painful story sharing, whatever you want to, is that, you know, because everybody knows that we've been running lease options for about 12 years now at this point. And from time to time, we definitely have had tenant buyers that go, okay, well, I have RSPs that I will use when we go in to qualify. So on that note, and I mean, if this is going over your head because you have not taken lease options yet, that's fine. You will be taking lease options at some point, especially for those of you who are in the TYT community. Now, they will say that I am definitely happy to use my RSPs. I'm going to be leveraging my it's FHSA when I am exercising my option to purchase. It's a tongue twister, just like TFSA when it first came out. And so I want to make sure that as investors running these kind of deals, you put a certain layer of protection so that you can hold their words and hold your tenant buyers accountable. Because more often than not, we've had tenant buyers that lost their jobs halfway through, or again, the last 14 months have been proven to be very, very challenging financially for the average Canadian household, you know, with inflation going up and paychecks are not going up as quickly. And so everybody's feeling the pinch. And so the tenant buyers would actually withdraw their savings account, their RSPs when push comes to shove. And then at the end of the program, all of a sudden you're going, where did that money go? And one of our most infamous stories that I've shared over the years is that, well, our tenant buyers, one of them, they actually make over $250,000. However, because it was an oil field type of job, and when the times got tough in Alberta back in 2015, 2016, he got laid off, and he was on seasonal layoff and rehire. So he went from making almost $300,000 a year down to about $120,000, $150,000 a year, or annualized it. For a lot of people, that's still quite a bit of money. That's still decent income. However, again, as what most of us know, you know, most people are trapped in a rat race. You make a certain amount, you get your lifestyle up to that point. When all of a sudden you lose that income, your expenses are still high, or it's harder for you to adjust your lifestyle immediately to reflect that. And they also had a wedding planned. And so as a result, they cashed out their entire RSPs just to pay for the destination wedding. And at the end of the day, it really hurt their ability to exercise their option to purchase. Okay, so the idea behind it is that if this is part of the plan, because I mean, I'm all for it. At the same time, if this is part of the plan for your tenant buyers to be fully successful at the end, meaning factoring in their RSPs as well as the first-time home buyer savings account, you want to have the ability to provision and on some level gain some sort of control or commitment, legally speaking, okay, so that you can really do them a solid by making sure that their lease option program is going to succeed at the end. Okay, I can see some grins and smiles. Maybe it's because you can relate to that, or you've already had something similar happen to you. Okay, any other questions?
So Tim, quickly before
Yes.
we, if we don't have any more questions, I did share with you that graph that we were discussing in our WhatsApp. I don't know if you're able to pull it up on the screen, but I think just having a quick snapshot before we end here might give a good visual kind of breakdown in more of like a simplified form than what we've noted on the presentation. And if people want to take a screenshot, they're welcome to do so. I'm not sure if you're able to pull that up though.
Doing that as we speak.
Wonderful.
Okay. Should be on the screen now for everyone.
Perfect. So here's just a really good example of the comparison between the first home savings account versus the RSPs. For those who are still on the call, it gives you a clear picture between the FHSA, the RSPs, and the HBP program. So the annual contribution limit with first-time home savings, $8,000. RSPs is 18% of income up to $30,780, and that's for 2023. Same thing for the HBP program. The lifetime limit for the first home savings account is $40,000. The RSP, there is no limit. And for the home buyers plan, there's $35,000. So we cannot maximize that. But of course, if we have more than one borrower, partner, common law, spouse, we're able to utilize it for each individual applicant, again, pertaining that we qualify under the criteria. Tax deductions for home savings account, yes. RSP, yes, and HBP, yes. Withdraws, the first home savings account is tax-free. RSPs are taxable, and under the home buyers plan, it's up to $35,000 tax-free. Repayment for the first home savings account is nil. Same with RSPs, but under the home buyers plan, you have to repay it back within 15 years. And then eligibility, as we know, for the first home savings account is first-time home buyers. RSPs is anybody, and home buyers plan is first-time home buyers. So RSPs and home buyers plans, again, just important to remember that RSPs can be utilized by anybody, but for the home buyers plan, we do have to qualify under that criteria to maximize the RSPs to your benefit.
Great summary. I love this chart. In fact, funny backstory for everybody. This was the chart that prompted me to reach out to Jackie and say, can we do a webinar on this?
It's a great one. And Tim, please also feel free to share it too. When I send you the rest of the information, you can also include it as a here's a snapshot over what we've gone over. And yeah, if anybody has any questions, you can also share with them my contact information. I'm here and I'm always happy to help any way that I possibly can.
And here you have it.
There you have it. So thank you very much for having me today. I really appreciate it, and to everybody who made time this morning, regardless of where you are across the country, to join us on this call. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you for coming on to share. And don't go yet, everybody. I have something else that I wanted to just make sure that we quickly go over. I know many of you here are from within the community already, so you might be up to date and aware of everything that is happening because you've already synced your calendar to the TYT calendar, right? Okay, so for those of you who are once again getting to know Trust Your Talent for the very first time, what are some of the next steps and the upcoming events that you can take advantage of? And here they are. So I'm going to quickly share it on the screen with everyone. So first thing first, if you have not done this for yourself yet, we do offer a standard 3-call process with a strategy coach on the team. Okay, and what the reason why we do that is because, as I mentioned really early on, we only take in 60 to 80 students on an annual basis, because the focus is not to get as many students as we possibly can. The focus is to create as many results as we can. And the goal is always 100% results oriented. And so what this means is, if this is your first time, want to make sure that you take the advantage of connecting with a strategy coach now. I'm going to be typing it in the chat box in case you didn't know this. So when you go to trustyourtalent.ca, you can either find Talk with the Coach, or in the chat box now, you already have a link. So copy and paste to speak to one of the strategy coaches. And what you can do is these 3 things. You can ask them to help you with the current deal in your portfolio, and ask them to help you complete a strategy plan for yourself, because I understand that not everybody here is a newbie. And also not everybody here is at an advanced level, and you might be somewhere in between, doesn't matter. And last but not least, ask them about the upcoming bootcamp and workshop, which I'll share in a little bit here, and which one is going to fit your learning style the best, okay? So on that note, I'm just gonna get everybody a few minutes there, at least to open the link and get your appointment set. Okay, so I can see the names that I don't currently already recognize. So Tabish and Namika and Senu and Sade and a few of you. Okay, and Audrey and Mie. Anyways, to name a few. So that's your opportunity to really get in touch with a strategy coach, just to get a bit more clarity in terms of how you can move forward and how you can continue to grow, whether or not you are currently investing in real estate. Now, the next part I want to walk everybody through is the upcoming events. And for those of you who are already following us on Eventbrite, you're getting regular updates on sessions like this one. Basically, every single Saturday, there is something coming your way. And most of them, there's no charge, because our goal as Trust Your Talent Academy is really to promote and push financial education out there. And by financial education, we leverage real estate investing, and we also want to provide relevant information. So I hope that you found today's session not just informative. I have a highly allergic reaction to the word information these days, personally, because talk is cheap, information is cheap, relevant information is really where it's at, okay? And so what's coming up here from Trust Your Talent is live workshops. Space is limited simply because of the room that we've got, and the hotel's pretty maxed out at the moment. That is happening in Toronto on the weekend of July 15th and 16th. So the room's filling up pretty fast and the space is limited. So make sure, if you want to find where it is, it's on the Eventbrite page as well. And next Saturday, we are also having another session at 11 o'clock Eastern time, and that's online live, like the one that we're doing right now. And this discussion topic is how to create long-term asset and income protection as an investor, okay? And so this is a live panel. Many of the Trust Your Talent Academy trainers, coaches, and mentors will be on the panel. However, it's very much an open dialogue. So lots of Q&A, and we like to invite you to join us on that one, simply because I think this is one of the sessions that we've gotten really amazing feedback on, just because of the format. Because as I mentioned, information is just information. We got to make it relevant, okay? And so make sure you don't miss that opportunity to come on. And the next one here is, if you're not in the Toronto area and you are wondering how you can do the fundamental training, then bootcamp is definitely for you. And it's also on the Eventbrite page, okay? And next and last on this slide, but definitely not least, many of you have already been to a TYT Connect. A TYT Connect is basically a community networking event for the Trust Your Talent community as well as the public. So what we really want to do is to create that environment. Typically speaking, it's not formal. Some people, they came to some of the Trust Your Talent, the TYT Connects, and they're like, is there going to be a presentation? Well, the answer is no, because the presentation is for you to get to know people that are in the community and trainers, mentors, and coaches from Trust Your Talent, to get to know it yourself, because we're not going to trap you in a room just to feed you a slideshow. That's not how we do things, okay? Because at the end of the day, this is about us supporting each other and continuing to grow together. We just finished an Ontario tour. Some people have been joking we should make t-shirts and put the tour dates and towns or cities that we went to. However, what's coming up is going to be Calgary and Vancouver over the summer. So stay tuned. The easiest and fastest way for you to do that is to follow us on Eventbrite, okay? Is to follow us on Eventbrite. I know, cannot wait to go back to Vancouver for another TYT Connect after the April one. And a few more sessions coming up. And everything on this slide, you just have to register. There are no fees involved. So all the webinar series we started with today with Jackie, understanding the differences between RRSPs, FHSA, and HBP as investors. And then we also have another one coming up, Create the Financial Success You Deserve. I'm gonna give you a quick update now at this point. That one, I've managed to actually invite a lawyer, a real estate lawyer who has started a new company called Deposit Landing. And so for those of you who are investors, make sure you show up for that session on July 8th now. So we'll be updating the information on Eventbrite as well. And then the next one here is July 29th, 3 must-have clauses in a private lending agreement. And we also have different seminars during weeknights too. So you can see there's lots and lots of sessions coming up that you can take advantage of. So I would definitely like you to be able to take advantage of that. So on that note, I'm going to say thank you. Thank you very much for joining us, and a special shout out to Jackie for spending her Saturday morning with us. And hopefully this clarifies a lot of things for many, many of us, if not all of us. And if you like this session, please in the chat box or unmute yourself, give her some love. It's a lot of information to go through. However, hopefully we've dissected it and made it relevant to you.
Thanks, Jackie.
Thank you so much for having me. Wishing everybody a wonderful weekend.
Thank
Thank
you, Jackie.
you.
Take care.
Thank you,
Thank you,
everyone.
team.
Bye. Have a great
for the
Bye.
weekend.
Thank you, everyone.